wanted to start this video off by interjecting a little bit of an idea here. If you guys are interested in this Vinland Saga Whisper Ramble series, it would be great if you could put in some ideas in the comments for future installments, even if it's like literally the next one, what you want to see. That would be great, and I think it would really service this this series well. So yeah, thanks. Hey guys, and welcome back to Wildcard ASMR. Now, I just like to give a heads up that I'm wearing a hat for the entirety of this video because, well, yeah, that's that. So recently I posted a video where I was just rambling about good old Vinland Saga for, I want to say 15 minutes. And I absolutely loved the medium. I love discussing Vinland Saga, and I just thought that I could make it an ongoing series because the reception on that video was pretty good. I think it was like 6 likes within an hour, which is very good given this channel's recent track record. But no, I heard from a couple of you guys that you enjoyed it, and I thought I could like one up the last video and work on the actual ASMR element of the video, and talk about a little bit more of a controlled topic to do with Vinland Saga, not just something like really broad or all-encompassing, if you will. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. Today, I'm going to be talking about Canute and Thorfinn. Today, I'm going to be talking about Canute and how the character of Canute really embodies an essential element of the story of Vinland Saga, and why I think that's important to discuss. So get comfortable, lay down if you will, just try and relax, and hopefully by the end of this video you'll be right and ready to go to bed. So Canute's character is a very nuanced one. He's a kid in the prologue who's been really isolated from the rest of his family, shunned, if you will, for many reasons. He's kind of treated illegitimately. He's spurned from the interests of his family, and the only one who shows him affection is Ragnar, who essentially becomes like his adoptive father, but more of a butler, and his older brother. Now, Canute's character is hinged on the idea of him possessing a massive femininity over a traditional masculine sort of role. Now, especially as one of King Sweyn's potential successors and heir, which is to be debated, Canute's femininity is a very tragic characteristic for him. It sees him like the butt of jokes. No one takes him seriously. He's kind of treated as a pseudo heir and like someone outside the royal family of Denmark, and it doesn't really favor him, if you will. Canute is consistently disillusioned, does not know what he wants to do with his life, trying to find faith even within faith itself, and trying to find God, and he's a very complex character, which initially is always trying to do good, but eventually gives into this sort of perverse, tyrannical persona that consumes him and becomes what we know of as Canute. Now, within the prologue, respectively, Canute is a very reserved character, quiet, and because, as the prologue shows, his life has been very, very traumatic. He had to endure, even for the period, a lot, and this naturally makes him a very cautious and insecure character. However, he masks it with a great facade of a great mask, if you will, of confidence and sternness. He gives off a very stoic vibe, despite this feminine side to him, and it kind of like kind of accentuates that silent protagonist look, because he is the protagonist for the most part in the prologue, kind of an accessory to Thorfinn, and I think like it really just shows that that whole not talking element to Canute really has an impact on his character. That's a very shallow observation, but essentially by him being quiet, it allows his expression alone and his internal monologue to give rise to the fundamentals of Canute. Now, later on, especially in the slave arc, Canute does a kind of 180 or even a 360. In some regards, he does come full circle, but for the most part, he becomes this sort of tyrannical figure whom originally he would have greatly despised. Someone like his father, he becomes like a lesser version of his dad. And spoilers, in killing his brother Harold, who admired him greatly, and it's tragic and saddening. Like, it's very hard to watch, very hard to read, and it really just like speaks volumes to the kind of person that Canute becomes post prologue in Vinland Saga. He sheds that childhood innocence and becomes the thing that he sought to destroy, a mindless, droning royal whose only goal is to gain the favor of his thanes, expand his territory, and ensure that his bloodline lasts. He's really a hypocrite in that regard, but I think it's more of a matter of cause and cause and effect than him consciously choosing that route. It feels like a very specific decision, story-wise, by Yukimura. Canute becoming the opposite of what he wanted to be, a good man, essentially. Seems paranoid, he's cocky, and he thinks that he deserves a lot more than what he has, and that is such a troublesome, irksome characteristic of Canute's that endures for much of the story. Canute becomes, in a lot of ways, an antithesis to Thorfinn. Despite them trading appearances, in my opinion, a couple times, they remain nonetheless steadfast oppositions to one another. They exist on two spectrums, two opposite poles, and sometimes clash, but I think that they just highlight two sides of the same coin, in that they both reflect the opposite of what each other stand for, but they also kind of speak to the hidden self that both of them have deep within, in perhaps their past buried away. So for Thorfinn, it's his former self, his rage and his jealousy, all that he left behind. And Canute, it is the innocent child that he left behind long ago, and that they're both like smothered beneath like so many layers of character progression and arcs. And I think that it's really important that Canute serves as the zero to Thorfinn's one, and the sort of the antithesis to his goal, in a way, sort of ignorance in the face of a greater motive. Interpret that how you will, rebut that, but that's how I feel. Of course, they're not the greatest enemies. Thorfinn has much bigger foes on his immediate horizon, but they do become enemies in a way, because they aren't best friends. They never were. They were kind of roped together by chance, and chance alone. But I think just once Askeladd's out of the picture, Canute is just a thorn in Thorfinn's path as much as Thorfinn is in Canute's. And admittedly, I haven't read quite enough into the manga to be able to make such a solid statement and accusation as that, but I'm going to, for the sheer fact that I think that reflects a lot of what Yukimura was intending through the character of Canute and Thorfinn. Canute also just undergoes like such a change in appearance, just like Thorfinn. This shot particularly is terrifying. This panel's terrifying. I don't know what to say about that. And I think that they both, Thorfinn and Canute, they both just represent two very important facets of the human psyche, in that one striving to be good and one just realizing it's not worth the struggle. And I think Canute embodies the latter and Thorfinn the former. And that's a very important parallel to draw, because it allows you to have two characters which kind of serve anti-hero roles, because Thorfinn is not perfect. But for the most part, one is identified as your protagonist and another one as a minor antagonist, or protag in the right circumstance. And that's good. It's always good to have complex characters, you know. It's great. But I think that, I think a quote from the 11th Doctor really sums up how Canute and Thorfinn evolve retrospectively. We're all different people all through our lives, and that's good, that's great. You've got to keep moving so long as you remember all the people that you used to be. Because this Canute, and this Canute are all different people, but they are also one being, Canute. And it's like three different versions of a character colliding into one, and by the end of the story you look back and you have that hindsight and you're like, wow, they really serve such an important driving force here, and they made this profound comment on the story that I didn't notice. And I think it's always good to stop every once in a while and analyze these characters and really just see how they impact the story moving forward, looking back, and just how they interact with each other, because it's very interesting. Thank you so much for watching this video. This was probably a much more brief video than the last one, if I am recalling correctly, although I may be delusional. And yeah, I just wanted to talk about Canute because I think it's a very good diving off point for what I hope to be an ongoing series. Next volume, I will either be analysing the character of Askeladd, which is another very important part, or the idea of Vinland and a paradise, which I think is also great. Thank you so much for sticking around, and I will see you next time, whenever and wherever that may be. Cheers.